Hi there, mommies. This is Sherry Hayes with MomDelights.com. I'm the mom of 15, and I've been homeschooling for over 3 decades, and I want to share something with you today that will bless you and add to your life. So you can go ahead and wash the dishes, fold the laundry, nurse the baby, whatever you have to do, and just listen as we dive into the good life in Jesus. So today, I'm so excited. I love notebooking. I love homeschool notebooking. I love almost everything about it. I can't really think of anything I don't like about it. It's one of those DIY kind of homeschool things that sets you free, and it gives so much to you. So I would like to talk about this in particular right in this season because I am creating some commonplace notebooks. And I have already on the community for this channel, I've already put up some pages for people to fill out. It's kind of a contest. I already have one entry, which is good, and I'm having people try to fill them out, have their kids do them, like do a picture, write a little bit about something, and then the best from all the entries I'm going to actually put into my books as examples, so that people will know what they can do with them. And so I've got a really cute one. Someone was reading to their child The Princess and the Goblin, and they did a little picture and they wrote like a sentence or two or something about the book underneath, and it was really cute, and I really appreciate that. And so, that's open and available to you if you want to do it. Just go in the community part of my channel. So if you go on the channel, and on the top they have these little words like videos, playlists, etc. If you go all the way to the right, I think, there is a community tab. So you click on the community tab and you'll see what I've posted up there and follow the link. So that's something that's available to you. So let's dive into what notebooking is, because a lot of people see this and they don't even know what to do. Even though I'm calling these books I'm creating commonplace books. The commonplace book is actually something that's been around since we've been able to write on paper, basically. I mean, even in the days when they probably used cuneiform, they probably still had commonplace books. A commonplace book is a way that you can record things that you've thought of, things that you've heard from other people. You can copy parts from different things you've read, famous quotes. You can put information that you don't want to forget in a commonplace book, and they've been kept for centuries and centuries. And we have examples in museums of people who kept commonplace books, and some of them are very famous people, and you can look at them online, and you and your kids can look at those. Okay, so what we do with homeschooling is we kind of create that for our kids. I'll explain further. So what we like to do, and so what are the benefits of creating a sort of commonplace notebooking thing with your kids? And I mean, I'll be sharing particulars as to what that looks like. I'll even have physical examples, visual examples that I can show you so you can understand where we're going with this, okay? But here's some benefits of it, okay? They are not like workbooks, all right? Now, we're in workbooks. I mean, there might be a purpose for workbooks, but in general, the questions are chosen to direct the students to one way of thinking, and there's usually only one correct answer to the questions in workbooks, aren't there? Okay, students can cheat, on workbooks and in work texts. Okay, if it's a work text that you just answer the questions. Because when I was in high school and we had to do American history, and we had a teacher that decided he didn't want to teach, and this is not his fault, but I mean, he could have done better. He decided he would just sit and read the newspaper and tell us to read all we had to do is read the chapter and answer the questions, but he didn't like being there. So what I would do is and I have learned this from a friend, okay, so it's still not, it's my fault. I did it, okay. I would take the questions, and I wouldn't read the chapter. I would just take the questions, look in the index where the answer to that question would be, where it was mentioned, and then I would write the answer to the question. I didn't even have to read the chapter, and I would still get it right? And he'd say, well, I'm just going to take different questions from the work text, and that's where we're going to be on the test. So we knew that we didn't really have to study anything. So that's how I got through that one class. I just cheated my way through. So it's easy to do that with that system, isn't it? Also, there's not really long-term retention when you teach that way. I mean, depends on the subject. I mean, if you have a lot of interaction, a lot of going on, you might be able to have a child, and if they're interested in it, you'll have more retention. But in general, there's not a lot of retention that goes on when all you have to do is read and regurgitate. It's just like the lowest rung of learning, and it's what most school systems are based on, which is horrible. But notebooking is engaging. The child is able to simply enjoy learning for learning's sake, okay? It is excellent for retention because the information goes in one way through the eye gate or the ear gate or physically or whatever it is, but the child gets to choose how it will come out at the other end. So it comes in, but how it goes out, what they produce from all the ideas that have been given to them, that's up to them, okay? So that makes them have to do some processing in there. So they don't just, okay, answer this. They have to, well, what am I going to do with information? Well, what should I, they're thinking, what was most important about this, right? So they're having to think through it, and then they're having to write it, and all kinds of things get engaged when you do that. So you obviously remember it better. Okay, it gives a record of what is being learned as proof to those on the outside, okay? So you might want to do some freewheel learning, like interest-led learning, but, there's somebody going to come over and ask you what you guys have been doing, right? And you may have been learning bonzos of wonderful things, but if you don't have anything to show for it, people tend not to believe that. They tend not to trust that, right? We want to see proof. So whether you have school officials or you just have some nosy neighbors, or you might have some relatives that just need some convincing. And so what you do is you just whip out your little notebooking pages and you show them all, and they're like, oh, wow, this is cool, right? So it helps. It helps, trust me. Okay, and it is economical. Okay, let me back up. It provides a keepsake for the learning you may be doing with your children. So it's like a journey you're going on. And I will show you this. I have I have shelves filled with notebooking binders where my children have produced pages and different things we've learned. And probably we've been doing this since, like 1994, maybe. And so, yeah, that's a long time. Oh, that's 30 years ago. So I have these binders, and it's so fun to go over them, and I can show like the younger children what their older siblings were doing even. And when I have grandkids, I can say, this is what your mommy wrote, this is what your mommy drew. And it's like this wonderful keepsake. So it is really neat. And it's economical. Okay, it's economical because you can notebook with the most basic materials. All you have to have is some kind of paper to write on, and you could do it with just a pencil if you had to, but it's nice to have some crayons or some colored pencils, maybe a little glue stick for something here and there. It's nice to have a printer to print out a picture or to print out a special notebooking page, but you don't have to have that. You can do it. I have a whole thing that I did on one year, or a couple of years. We just took the 50-cent composition books from Walmart at the school sales, and we just filled those suckers up with all kinds of wonderful things. And I have lots and lots of evidence where we just had so much fun doing that. So it's just super economical. Okay, and it can be used with whatever book you want. If you have a coffee table book about Mustangs, or something, and you have a son that really loves cars, well, you can just take that coffee table book and give it to him and have him read it and have him draw the pictures, and he can just make he can make a fold out of everything there, and you can stick it in a binder when he's done. And so it will work with a coffee table book. It will work with an algebra textbook. You could take, like my daughter and I were working through Algebra 1 with I don't know, it's algebra, whatever it is, Saxon. What we could do is we could take, now we don't do this, but because she's moving pretty fast, she's pretty good at it. But if you had a child that was really struggling, one day you could read the lesson, you could have the child notebook whatever the lesson was about, And then the next day they could start and maybe do the practice problems, right? And then the next day they could actually do the problems. And that's a way, because when they read, sometimes it's really, especially with technical stuff, right? So when they read that algebra lesson and you're talking about it with them, it's like jibble jabble, whatever is in there. But if they can notebook it, and then you guys can write out what it looks like, and they can do like the example problems, they could write those out to where they see it right in front of them. And when they're writing it, everything, different gates that go into their mind are all being produced, different pathways, right? So then the next day when they do the problems, they've had time, their body and their brain has had time to mull over all that information. The next day when they do the problems, now we're kind of more familiar, we're feeling more confident, right? Because we actually know the material. So that's just one way. That's an algebra textbook. You can do it with science textbooks. You can do it with any textbook. Notebooking works with anything. Okay, now it can be used at any level. If you have a child who isn't reading yet and isn't writing yet, the child can still scribble something. So what you can do is you can have a space for them to draw. And like if you're reading Little Red Riding Hood, they can dictate Little Red Riding Hood back to you, and you can write it for them as they dictate it back. So they've had a place where they've drawn their picture and they've colored a little red cape, a big bad wolf, and then you're just the wolf, and you say, keep it simple. They don't have to do the whole story. They could just do a couple sentences of something they remember from the story, and you write it there below that, and you put their name and the date, and there you go. Bam, notebooking page, and so much learning has gone in there. I mean, it's just, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's amazing, because the child has had to take the information, they've had to concentrate while you were reading to them. Then they had to work it in there, process that in their mind to where they came out with something that was communicating, right? And that's what language arts are. It's like we're communicating, so they're communicating back to you. It's a Charlotte Mason idea. It's narration. And then they've got to decide what they want to draw, and they're learning their fine motor skills by drawing and coloring. That's a win, right, for eventually when they are writing. So much has gone into that little notebooking page, and it was so cheap. All you had to do is like have a piece of paper and some crayons. So anyway, that's notebooking too. Now, also, this can develop lifelong habits for your children. They can get used to thinking, well, if I'm learning how to buy a house, so I have to know all this stuff. Well, I can just keep some notes on some pages, and keep some drawings, some illustrations. Maybe there's a brochure that they have on getting a mortgage loan or whatever, and they just keep it all together in a little binder, and they have all this stuff together. It's going to simplify their lives, all their lives, to learn this way, okay? It helps children organize their thoughts, when we're their thoughts going bing, like a ping pong ball inside a dryer, right? And so sometimes it helps them to narrow things down, and so they can just do the one little thought at a time. So it helps them to organize their thoughts. It allows them to have a creative outlet of drawing and designing. Now, not every child needs this, but there are a lot of children who really, really crave being creative while they're learning, and this just gives them that outlet. And you can do notebooking pages, can be crazy. You can do all kinds of stuff with them. Okay, it gives children responsibility for their own learning. So if it's just laid out and they just do 1, 2, 3, 4, it's not real. They're not engaged. They don't care. They're just trying to please you so they can go have a snack, right? But if you say, now, if you want to learn this, you're going to have to put some effort into it for yourself, then they are taking responsibility, right? And it gives them a sense of accomplishment, even for that little child who can barely draw. Once they have that notebooking page done, they feel great. Yes. And if you take that child struggling with their algebra or what have you, they are going to be so happy when they look back and they see that not only did they answer all the questions, even if they didn't get them all right, they can see where they have this track of all of the thought processes that went into learning this algebra. And then you have like reluctant writers, and they're going to feel like even if they just write a little bit under a picture, that makes them feel like I was writing, right? And you build on that and you keep going. Okay, so I think that I've covered a lot of the basic ideas why notebooking is so amazing. But I want to get into more specifics on how to do it, right? The different types of methods, the different types of everything, right? Because notebooking is so much fun. And then I want to also, along the way, show you lots of examples, because I have oodles of examples. And I haven't done everything that notebooking can do either. I mean, there's all kinds of different ones that we didn't even try, and I'll try to show you some of that. And I'm going to give you some practical ideas of how materials, where to start, how to start, what to do, all that kind of stuff. And all this, of course, is leading up to the commonplace books, but you don't have to wait until I get those done. You can get a notebooking page off the internet someplace. I have a whole bunch of free notebooking pages on my blog. You can access that in the freebies page. And I might have some spattered in there, but I think you can access most of them on the freebies page. I have all kinds of them. And you can just get like a composition book, and you can read my post on that. You can do that too. I'll try to link some of that below in the description box for this video, for this podcast. I'll try to have it in the podcast notes or description. And so I hope that in the future, this will really give you a lot to go on. And especially if you're planning for next year, and you're looking at cost, and you're looking at, your ROI, that's return on investment. I got to tell you, anything you invest in notebooking is going to give you a great, great return. Better than a whole bunch of notebooks. Better than a whole bunch of workbooks. I can tell you that, right? I guarantee that. Okay. Sarah, you sound so sure. Sherry, you sound so sure. Yes, I really am. Now, for something more. So, I'm going to read to you. Now, the last video I did was around the eclipse time. And I think it's really important. I'm seeing now, unfortunately, a whole bunch of stuff after the eclipse. Now we need to be really afraid. So I'd like to read to you Psalm 2, because I think it's important to go over this just a little bit more. Okay, Psalm 2 says this. Why do the nations rage and the people plot a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, Let us break their bonds in pieces and cast away their cords from us. He who sits in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall hold them in derision. Then he shall speak to them in his wrath and distress them in his deep displeasure. Yet I have set my king on my holy hill of Zion. I will declare the decree, the Lord has said to me. You are my son. Today I have begotten you. Ask of me, and I will give you the nations for your inheritance, and the ends of the earth for your possession. You shall break them with a rod of iron. You shall dash them to pieces like a potter's vessel. Now, therefore, be wise, O kings. Be instructed, you judges of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry, and you perish in the way, when his wrath is kindled but a little. Blessed are all those who put their trust in him. Whoa, pretty big stuff. Now, we get flummoxed or fearful or unsure when our minds become in line with this world's system. And the premise of this world system is either there is no God, or if he is, there is something bigger and better than him. Okay. Now, like Nimrod and those that were building the Tower of Babel, we can become like God. Isn't that what the devil tries to do? So the world system is all premised on that. That's all the main thoughts. Like, we're on our own, kids, or we've got to overcome. So we can't trust God. We can't look to him for answers. We can't allow him to have his mind in our mind so we can think his thoughts and really understand how things work. Okay? But if we become kingdom of God minded, we have nothing to fear, okay? And this should be our daily posture, to try to become kingdom of God minded, right? And that's the renewing of our mind in his scriptures, talking to him, walking with him, inviting him into our days. Then when we become kingdom minded, we are it's like a light turns on, and we see things and we understand things and we know things that we wouldn't have known if we were steeped in the thoughts of this world. Now, the creator of all things has a plan, just like that psalm says. And you're blessed. It says, blessed are those who put their trust in him. So it doesn't matter what fearful, horrible things they try to tell us are going to happen. If we're putting our trust in him, we will be blessed. Why? Because God said so. Does God lie? Absolutely not. He's not a man that he should lie. Neither the son of man that he should, I forget the rest. But God is not a liar. He is the truth. So you can't go wrong. If you trust in him, you will be blessed, no matter what it looks like. So you have a wonderful day. Like and subscribe and do stars and bells and, all the positive things that you all do anyway. And have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.